and good evening. On the 22nd of February 2026 at 6:30 and today, according to the calendar as posted on the dailies page, okay, on the website www.dynamicstillnesses.com. On the page named dailies is a calendar um, for this month, and per that calendar is the date for today, and what's listed as a part of the body we'll be studying more on is the Sitz area. Morning, I had covered about the Sitz bone area, yeah, or how the Sitz bone is related with other regions in the pelvic floor. Um, that awareness was more to bring attention to being able to feel the Sitz bone, but nevertheless, in the evening, physiology is appreciable differently. And one of the things that does happen in the evening time is the temperature in the air is cooler, apparently. And okay, the sunlight-based temperature is cooler, and the night light-based temperature is warmer. We're going to say there is different kinds of thermodynamics. In the presence of light, there's a different thermodynamics. In the absence of light, apparently, absence of light, or let's just say dark light, the light of the evening, there's different thermodynamics. And I'm sitting facing a screen, so that may also be having an effect on my bodily appreciation of temperature. But we do notice that people tend to drink more alcohol or just chill out in the evening. So that may be talking of a cooler thermodynamics than somebody who's sitting facing the screen and getting a little heated up from the light from the electronic surface. Having brought that into attention, I invite you to bring your attention to your skin about the region of your elbows. The skin of your arms, the skin of your forearms, yeah, front of your body, because that's what I'm more aware of sitting in front of a screen, and becomes easier to kind of name the elephant in our body awareness room, yeah? So begin by paying attention to what you can feel right now, but in terms of warmth, so we are more appreciative of the present moment in terms of certain specifics. Here, I'm bringing your attention in terms of warmth. And where is warmth felt? And then here I'm feeling in the front of my body, and I'm noticing more about my elbows. And then I'm also paying attention to the clothes I'm wearing. So that's also there for immediate awareness. And it's also of the present moment. So I can feel the skin, the clothes in my body. And there, when I'm not touching my clothes, and I'm only kind of touching my clothes with my skin on which the clothes are resting, then it's not in terms of the texture of the fabric, but more in terms of softness, in terms of temperature, warmth, maybe hard surfaces, like if there's a button or a zip, or a stitch where the clothes have experienced a fold and then it's rubbing against your skin. So you know there is something harder than soft. So maybe in terms of, well, I can't call it texture now, can I? Well, okay, hard and soft. Okay. Okay. So maybe we have to find some words by which to precisely call them out. So if you're not going to go by categories, as in texture contains hard and soft, and silk versus cotton versus, so in sensory terms, what would texture apparently feel like? And touching it could be silk or cotton, but in terms of sensory paradigm of feeling, yeah, you'd have to find some words like soft, hard, warm, cool, dense. Okay. Okay. Now, how does your breath feel when we have named something that hitherto may not have been unnamed, or unable to be to be named because we did not know we had to name them or attempt to name them? But once we name them, maybe your breath relaxes a bit, because it's like a country now, or a country now named, or a unknown now named, and so can be in some way measured or experienced in terms of words. So the next time you're feeling this, you have a name for it, which is more recognizable. So the brain may be going through, or the intellectual part, which may also need words, may be going through a little incomprehensibility, because the body feels, but there are no words for it, which is also how the human intellect grows up from a baby to worded, and then we have words by which to speak, because our intellectual sphere, our intellectual domain is now more equipped with words, which can then over time become words we speak. So this is the development of human intellect from a baby, no worded to worded. So when we say pre-science, before we could think in terms of object, there has been the subjective experience. So describing the indescribable, or naming the unnamed, or knowing the hitherto unknown, then brings a certain human experience, maybe, yeah? What makes a difference between a human, animal, plant, microbe, because they may not have had to deal with words, and not in English at that. Yeah, to understand and comprehend things in English may not be a plant, animal, earth, water, fire, spirit, space challenge. This is more a human consternation. And what that makes available is we can reconnect with softness in a felt sense. So the human organism seems to be pretty strange, yeah? We are a group of microorganisms, viruses and bacteria. Mitochondria has bacteria. Nerves have viruses. And so we are a mix of at least 12 kinds of microorganisms. And a human is more than a set of microorganisms, which is why we need words to be able to grasp. And then, so the human body is a weave of sounds in meanings, which is more than what microbes have had to deal with. So yeah, pretty interesting. So given that our human economy, civilization is also formed from many people writing down stuff, even on caves. So how did apes become humans? Did the body hair drop where there's hair only in certain patches of the human body composition because we write, and we use the skin more to feel than the body hair to be able to grasp the matter? And our head does not need so much of felt skin sense, and head hair has something to do, and the different patches of hair on our body has something to do with how information is processed. Because humans don't go back to being hairy beings, but males have body hair. Is it talking about how information is processed? They are not feeling as much, and so they are having ape-like characteristics. Okay, I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I'm just following through a thought line. I'm thinking out loud because hair is talking a story in and of itself. Yeah. So the human body composition is pretty interesting, and my subject, I'm fascinated by the human body, and ooh, so much. We have a human life, and oh my goodness. All right. Okay, so it's like some people like toys, some people like ice cream. I'm like, oh my God, we got this. It's like I discovered another country. Yeah. So me loves the human body and the composition, how we came about, and what's possible from having a body that's human, and I have a body for female woman. Yeah. So I'm studying the male species, studying the female species, and then there's small size, big size, old size, lots to study. So, all right, that was my, I can't say peeve. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, you like your favorite food, you go a little yeah, glee, you're right now. Yeah, now let's bring our attention to the part of the body which is slated on our calendar. So we're sticking to schedule, okay? And we're bringing attention to the area of the sits bones. Now I have kind of categorized the human body into 40 parts. 41. Okay. And okay, one part is having just one part, which is the tailbone, in two. Yeah, having two areas. I think two parts, 1 minute. Yeah. And the other 40 having 4 parts each. Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. Easy. I'm just going to look up this. I can pause, but I can just continue. It's pelvis, hips, 1 minute. I have lost it. All the legs and yeah. The 41 part is just one part. I've not segregated into many. And it's called the tail and schwa. So 4 parts, all other parts of the categories out of the 41, the 40 have 4 parts, and the 41st has just one, tail and schwa. Yeah. So they say Charlie's Chore, Alibaba and 40 Thieves. Yeah. So I've given the 44 areas each, and the 41 is just the tail. Pretty interesting. Hanuman also had a long tail on which he coiled and sat on it and spoke to King Ravana. So I was thinking that's category in and of itself. Now, in today's area, about the region of the sacrum, so the sacral region, where the sacral bone is, yeah, about that region, is all given one area, yeah, one of the 40. And we are talking about the sits bone area. Okay. Now the sits bone area, thereabout region. The tailbone is related with the sacrum. I'm talking about the pelvic area. I could have put that under the pelvic area, but maybe I need to revisit the categorization. But nevertheless, we will talk about the sits bone. Yeah, because I keep doing the internal redistribution of units when I have an aha. It's like you put the apples in the orange boxes. And there's a logic behind how I put this together, but nevertheless, regularly visiting them is how we make things better, how we improve our categories, how we have a better life from naming the different body parts and now working with them. So the sits area includes the pelvic floor in some sense. I'm taking the opportunity to also work with that area. But if you're only going to go by the sits bone area, which would be the behind part of our body, lower behind, not lower front, which will be about where the hip bones are, the hip joints are, kind of, so to speak. Yeah. From the lower front almost, or lower sides. Um, okay, kind of. Yeah. Lower sides, maintaining the body in a certain balance. But we also have balance maintained by the internal organs in the front versus the weight of the body in the front versus weight of the body in the back. So the hips then adjust for gravity. If you have, say, intestines, you have more subcutaneous fat, yeah, or we have just about a lot of our internal organs in the front. And then how is a body maintaining that center of gravity? By the hip bones. The hip then manages the gravity. In that sense, are our hip bones exactly in the middle, sides, yeah, lower sides? I don't think so, because I think then we curve our body differently to be able to then be able to move forward. Otherwise, we could be a little laid back with all our internal organs more in the center, but we would be more laid back in life. Yeah, versus we are more pro front, which means you'd have all our internal organs hanging more in front, and the weight is this way. Yeah, and I'm a woman, so I have breasts and different organs in front. So I laid back wouldn't do, and I am a professional, so I do need to pro be front. So I'm carrying a lot of weight in the front. So male anatomy, physiology versus female. Yeah. Now, having named, I'm becoming more comfortable speaking the uncomfortable, because I got to do this work and somebody's got to do this work. And well, belling the cat is what I'm doing, because the cat breathes in a way that dogs and other organisms don't. And cat has been associated with mysticism too. And I'm belling the cat because it's a different kind of a respiration. It's the respiration of nature, but in combination with nurture. Okay, Prakriti and Purusha. So, belling the cat. School time. People go to the church. There's a bell. Okay. Nobody have been able to access this as well as I have been since some time. The church of the human body. Yeah. And yeah, several such details, where you have brought together the named and the unnamed, primary respiration and the secondary respiration. So it's a whole new school. Yeah. Now. And they also talk about Mother Mary, and no idea what is original. Virgin Mother Mary. So the original. So I'm talking about original humane intelligence in a world functioning by, we are figuring out we have life or something like it. And I'm in the business. This is like life on business. So different stages of being profitable. And so talking about it is how the school then educates. And then over time, we have economic benefits from being better educated. Being able to feel our human body plays an important role in being able to, well, feel our body. Why is it important? If you don't know the instrument you're living life in, or living, functioning by as a human being, as a human organism, you don't know what you're talking about as having life. Now, this is a careful appreciation of the home, vehicle, office, body composition. We have been calling civilization by religion, technology, what have you, fields of study, all being human concerns. Because microbes don't have to think about the internet, don't have to think about mass communication. They might be having their own mass communication, but enlivening life in the multiverse is a human concern. Or rather, I have come to discovering that enlivening life in the multiverse is what human beings have been created for, or human beings have the potential for in the design, but it's taken this long for me to be speaking about it. Yeah. Also, now the sitz bone holds the seat in the office of life. Yeah, and we all have a body, and so we already have an office of life. And the sits bone is the seat on which our individual offices of life can sit. Yeah, whether or not you're sitting, standing, lying down, or twisting or dancing in any shape, you have your seat. And if you can feel your sits bone, you are seated in your office chair. Yeah, which is basically your body, your walkie-talkie office. And over and above that, we have the internet, we have the different screens, the room we sit in, people we interact with, they all form our team or not. So, whom are we connected with? That way. Now, let's pay attention to our seat in the whole scheme of things. Yeah. And notice how is the chair or the surface where you sit on, which would be basically the tissues of your body, which then you may or may not be able to feel is in contact with a surface. If you're sitting, you would have a surface that your tissues can feel. If you're standing, your tissues are not touching anything, maybe air, if you can feel the air or the clothes in your body, that would be the surface. But nevertheless, you have tissues. You're not bones hanging. You have bones structured in a particular manner. So feel the tissues, which then says you have a chair in your office of life in the whole scheme of things. And bring your attention to, I took a sip of Shankapushpa, or the blue cowpea flower with hibiscus, red hibiscus, steeped in water. Okay. So that's giving my voice a different texture. Why is this important? What you do or what you input into your factory, which is also your body, makes a difference in how your seat or your well-being or the well, you put things through your mouth and it goes into the wellness of your office, of your multi-story building. Yeah. I don't know who's listening to me unless you let your presence known. I'm talking to an auditorium, and in the auditorium they dull the lights so you can't see the audience. So I'm in my own performance. Yeah. So I'm talking about what's there to be paid attention to. And you're having I'm being a stand-up comedian. Okay. I'm being a performer on stage. Yeah. Okay. Now, how is the experience of wellness in your office, in a multi-story building that's also your body? Yeah. And your seat in the whole scheme of things would get affected by what you put into your wellness. Yeah. Your state of well-being gets affected by what goes in through the mouth. It's like putting a coin in a well. Yeah. And then what's the sound and what's the multiple effects? Or how does a pebble dropped in a well then create ripples in the body? So you're at least 60 to 70% water or more, little there by 75. And they would cause ripples. And they may also affect the people sitting next to you. Your wellness versus not wellness is also felt. Now, paying attention to your seat tissues, your chair, has many benefits. For example, a pot kept on a stove has the warmth. If you can feel the warmth in the region of your chair, which would include your glutes, your pelvic tissues, the region in the pelvic floor, and if you can feel the warmth, you know you're cooking because there would be fire at the bottom of the pot. Yeah. And what's cooking is also witchcrafty. Cauldron. We are one pot wonder with legs. And we walk on, we carry a pot. Oh, wellness, potluck, So what's coming out of your mouth is also your luck, depending on what you're listening to. So what's cooking in the pot? Peace in the pot, 9 days old. Yeah. So if you can feel the warmth in your chair is when you know your pot is cooking. If you can't, How well is the pot cooking? Yeah, because the warmth, the heat is how you then, the heat can be adjusted. And your awareness of the heat is what then makes slight difference in what's getting cooked. Otherwise, things could be getting charred, for example, if you don't know how much of heat intensity there is. Because humans don't have just, they say the enteric, your gut instincts, the gut brain, they say, it's a second brain apparently. And calves are another brain. Pelvis is another brain. If your pelvis is not functioning as well, your pelvic nervous system is not functioning as well, your brain does not function as well. Yeah. So it affects your well-being, your brain well-being, your ability to think, function. Um, a lot of people have reported that masturbation causes your brain to function differently. And you could get so obsessive, you can't think clearly or function as well. So there's been a lot of work on getting people beyond masturbation because you can't think clearly. Your brain functions differently. Now, being aware of your pelvic nervous system, your pelvic brain, yeah, has many benefits. Mr. Nikola Tesla also called it as sexual alchemy. Ah, auntie, one minute. Huh, okay. Now, righty. Now, the amount of heat that that's there in the region of your pelvic brain, if you've tried cooking, and I recommend you do try cooking, because then you'll know what heat does to small ingredients like garlic versus ginger versus water, yeah, with water, without water cooking, with oil cooking, without oil cooking, yeah. The amount of heat when you increase or decrease changes the flavor in a lot of ways. There's this Instagram account called Flavor, Flayvah. Yeah. And they're talking about biochemistry, cooking in terms of science, and it's so beautiful. But you will get a better understanding of what happens when heat is there, how much of heat, up or down. And I'm not saying that you can up or down regulate the heat in your pelvis, but I am saying that when you're aware of the heat in the region of your pelvic brain, how or what is getting cooked in your pot, the one pot wonder, the body we have on stands. How is your creativity? How's your productivity? How's your quality of the luck that comes out of your mouth, that people then have the luck of listening to you or not? Yeah. And what you're talking about changes. It's also been called the Apanavayu, but Apanavayu is like, okay, let's just say the rocket has fire going through the bum. And accordingly is also the pace at which the rocket is propelled. Yeah. Um, Now, that's kind of like the Apanavayu, but that doesn't mean so much, fuel going downwards because of which you then are going to your orbit in the whole scheme of things, like launching a satellite. But you being in your place, in your niche in the whole scheme of things, is also dependent upon how is the fuel consumption? Is it just sufficient? Is the fuel combustion, the composition good enough to propel you, to have you be functioning in your niche, in like a planet in its own orbit around the sun? Is an example. Are you a planet size, or you're just a particle in the Kuiper belt and are in different stages of becoming your own planet? And you Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, or are you Earth? Yeah, that makes a difference. and Earth has its own orbit around the sun. Yeah. Similarly, it takes a certain energy to maintain Earth-like composition. Otherwise, you could be a ball of gas. Yeah. And speaking stuff, which then does Earth-like things. Yeah. You could be in your own deluded ways of thinking because, okay, and then there are different stages of Earth becoming. We've had 5 mass extinction events, and different stages have had many technologies coming up over civilizations, different stages. So some people haven't yet arrived at Earth, yeah, and some people are talking about different stages. And then what kind of technology are you talking about? Yeah, by which you are then facilitating health, life, and living life. So is the technology conducive with how Earth is functioning? Earth is then, so there is the idea of the Jagannath. So when we say Jambudvipa, Jambalaya, you know, these are all references to an island or a pot or one pot wonder. Yeah. So we may not be talking about one pot wonder, but the thing is, what's cooking in your pot? And what's the technology by which the cooking is happening? Yeah. And Jagannath goes sick 15 days in a year. So is your ways of, is your potluck, what's coming out of your mouth, causing a disease? Is it having you squirm in your seat? In which case, you may be a little more coming to from Agni to a little bit more Swaha. Yeah. Which is when what I'm talking about is getting more consumed. Yeah. And your potluck, what is getting cooked, the bits of information going into your pot would be cooking better than getting fury. Um, yeah, because then you could be a fire horse, be breathing fire, but humans don't breathe fire. When we speak, um, instead of setting things on fire, if we are making things better, yeah, and what are you making better also makes a difference in are you functioning like what Earth is doing um, and living like the multiverse. It's more like um, speaker from a podium, and then the whole room becomes better, finer. And in what way are they all becoming like Earth, who then just function like life and living creatures? When they go back to their own solar systems, their own families, their own um, organization, their own company, do people in their organization also become like Earth? Yeah. So I'm just bringing forth an idea that also depends on your sitz bone. What's your seat in the whole scheme of things, and what's cooking, and what's the technology by which you are making your technology better? Yeah. I call it nature's original information technology. Also called, well, people may call it Prakriti, but Prakriti also has been called as Patalavani. Yeah. And Patalavani is also related with the Nagas. Vishnu has Sheshnag. Yeah. And then maybe the family of the Nagas. And then there's the Garuda, also by the sphenoid bone. Yeah, like Garuda's wings. So do you have your eagle and the snake not at war at each other? Yeah. And complementary opposites, they are actually supporting each other. So there's this idea of um, um, complementary opposites. Yeah. Skanda functioning by the peacock. So Garuda. Yeah. Details like that. Indra. Yeah. Skanda has also been related with Indra, but riding on a eagle. Yeah. And not at war with the snakes or the mongoose or rat or birds or plants or animals or humans. You don't have enemies because enemies, also apparently enemies, are also complementary opposites. They just have different points of view. And when you appreciate the different points of view, you have a humane humanitarian boundaries where every opinion matters and the opinion may be contrary to what you believe. But if they are way too contrary, that they don't fit like puzzle pieces into the whole scheme of things, you could be accepting versus not. And we have Amicus, Orwell's farm. Yeah, some things are more important than other. Some people are more important than other people, which you would say is also true. But if the worker is not there, the CEO has no job. Yeah, a CEO has a job. The thing is, the CEO would also be doing the worker's job. So, which means the worker's job has a job, has prominence, because otherwise the organization is not there. What are you calling as an organization? Yeah, you have, yeah, now. Um, so I'm just having you all work in better ways, such that we're all getting to a better place. And when people on planet Earth, we're all on planet Earth, we are all functioning well. Then over time, life enlives in the multiverse. And we also got to know they found proteins in outer space. Yeah. So life is enlivening. We hadn't heard about this earlier because um, there is Earth at work in enlivening life in the multiverse. Yeah, since the Big Bang. So what is this going to look like? Well, people have found proteins in outer space. Um, in Malayalam, they say Kanambuna Puram Parnarikina. Yeah, even if you describe it, if you've never seen something like it, how in the world are you going to have an experience? And what you're going to see need not be something that um, disgruntles you, or it's a good life. When I'm saying a human being, an embryo, primitive streak, over time becomes a human body. Um, I don't know what it's going to look like, but we have dots and dashes, and um, I'm thinking it's like Earth because we have many things shown up, but they have discovered proteins in outer space. So something that you haven't believed, or rather, let's just say it's a faith. There is this idea of life and learning in the multiverse, like mother's womb to being born into a new space is where we are on Earth. Okay. And on Earth, there are things we know about, things we don't know about. So there is like spaces when your eyes are clouded by the windshield clouded, and what you can see is only what your if the windows of your body, of your mind is open enough, is when you see something other than that. And I am seeing life and living in the multiverse. I'm speaking from the underside of life, from Patala Loka, yeah, from the geoid, Prakriti, Patalavani. So I'm speaking in Patalavani and Prakriti. And medical underwriting is also what the insurance industry talks about. So I am regularly doing medical underwriting, no, life underwriting, life script, the stories, scripture, yeah, from the underside of life. So I'm doing Prakriti, yeah, by Patalavani, and I'm talking about it too. Yeah. So I'm talking about a lot of stuff. A lot of people haven't heard about. So they say Nagamani. Yeah, I'm talking about, they talk about diamond. Yeah, gem. But this is not just diamond, this is a gem. Nagamani is a different gem. So I'm talking about stuff, and also in Living's life in the multiverse. Yeah. Poison apparently in different combination to then be medicine also. Yeah. So it's a different composition. Now, that becomes possible. That's like you have a diamond, yeah, so to speak, apparently, yeah. The moonstone, though, yeah, is also fine. We all have a head. So there's this idea of the Kundalini. So we are like the snake. We even do snake dance, yeah. Now, maintaining the one pot wonder and cooking our valuables, gem, medicine for earth, yeah. Otherwise, what's coming out of our mouth may not, we don't set things on fire. Yeah, no. Either Agni is coming out of our mouth or Swaha, in which case just vapor. And then it forms clouds. And then you have clouds to think from. It's called Dharma Mega Samadhi. Yeah. So what you're creating is, what you're speaking is then creating clouds of thought, then from where to, over time, there's little dripple, And then you have a new think. Yeah. They say Samudra Manthan, elixir of life. Water is the elixir of life. So you have another drop of water, and then you have another think. It's also a little homeopathy. Yeah, little drip drip. And you have creations. Drip irrigation creates nice crops. Yeah. So what kind of ideas do you have? That becomes possible. The kind of ideas that then elements life in the multiverse is also by the heat in the pelvic brain. Yeah. By how is Apanavayu? Okay. Now, all this talk, just so you can pay attention, be a little more aware of your pelvic brain. We're just talking about the cooking surface. No, if you're going to say cooking, you're going to be, oh, cooking. Yeah, because your idea of you're getting cooked. No, let's just say warm water, thermos flask. Yeah, maintains all warm and nice. There's also heat insulation. Yeah, so um, human beings are warm-blooded animals. If you can feel the warmth in your body, yeah, and not hot, that would be cooking. We are paying attention to the warmth in our pelvic brain so that we are aware if it's hot, because hot cooks. Warm cools. Yeah, maintains the cool. Yeah, and then maintains life too, because it is more within the temperature range of maintaining life. And hot cooks, scalds. Yeah. So healthiest sperm and ovum is also how reproduction, or rather the ideas that form, is not just only about reproducing humans. Yeah. We also have ideas, we have values to make available. All that becomes possible when we are not just talking about, oh, hot between the legs. Yeah. Because that may be where you're only thinking about reproduction and biological and yeah, body counts, and some countries are talking in terms of that. Warmth has you think about ideas, but also without putting the fire out. Yeah? Maintaining warm enough, healthy sperm and ovum, but without losing your common sense either. Yeah? So, every now checking the heat in your pelvic brain helps, because you may not be thinking clearly because of a lot of heat. If so, I recommend getting up, walking about, because that helps to aerate, or rather base your pelvic brain on nothing, like no thing. Otherwise, you're sitting on a chair or lying down somewhere or in a vehicle, hard surface. Yeah. You need a little breathing space for your chair. Yeah. In the whole scheme of things. Now, having said that, we will then approach another aspect of the sacral region of a body tomorrow. Okay. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the glutes, which is more closer. Okay, it's covering an entire area, but we are talking about the back, not exactly the sides or the front. So are we more interested in the pelvic area? Okay, but we are not going into a lot of details because we don't want to get over enthusiastic and cook. Yeah, because anatomical details of the pelvic brain, yeah, you don't want to get tangled in the details. Yeah, between your brain and the pelvic and several details, and there's a lot of details there. So just being aware of the warmth versus hot about the chair in your office in the whole scheme of things is good enough. Yeah. Light. This is light yoga. Yeah. Awareness is key. Yeah. And then comes mindfulness and present moment appreciation. If your brain, your thinking is getting clouded, you would need to walk around, or take a look at something else, or listen to music, or so you are more in the present moment. You turn on music, music is happening in the present moment, outside just in your body. Yeah. So your clouded vision is likely to come become more appreciative of the present moment. Otherwise, your brain is more befuddled by internal mechanisms, yeah, internal stimulations. Now, which is a good thing to be aware of why somebody may be behaving a certain manner. They may be a little lost in, there are so many brains in our body. Yeah, not just the pelvic, there's the enteric, there's the heart. Yeah, your heart is also a brain. And the heart brain connection, that's because you don't see the heart as a brain. It's a nervous system of, of its own kind. And there's also brain in your knees. If the left and right knee brain is not balanced, you have different concerns. You got lots of brains. Ankles are also brain. Yeah. So we got lots of, well, if they're not functioning as well as we need to, a common sense, yeah, could be pained by different kinds of concerns that the brain can then, yeah, what we call as the brain, can then feel, and stress levels and what you're worried about, what you're thinking about, versus having the ability to pay attention to what needs to pay attention to gets affected. Yeah, that's how you have an outlook at life, and not get so outlooked at life that your brain's falling off. And it's more like, which brain? Yeah? Because you can't feel the different brains, which means to that extent your brain's falling off. Yeah. So a fine balance between the internal and external is also called antaranga and bahiranga, an aspect of yoga. So thank you so much for your kind interest. I hope this has been of value to you. Volume, okay. Okay, is the soundness of the composition is also called the bite, BYT. Yeah, give a little big bite. Okay, so do walk about after having a meal. It helps to walk about. It helps your different digestive systems to get more settled and balanced and come to harmonious homogeneity. Because then there is the careful appreciation of the ingredients by the different stomachs or the different brains. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. Good day. See you tomorrow between 6 and 7. Thank you. Get out.